sort of why we're here today. And then hopefully there's a few more people who can trickle in. But yes, hello. First of all, thank you so much to everyone who took the time to join today. You all are about to actually be some of the first folks to see and also have access to our new Scroll Viewport feature, which is AI search. So this has been in development and also in an experimental state for the better part of this year. But we're actually aiming to launch in October, which is just a few weeks away. And as Scroll Viewport users, or I know we had some Atlassian partners also sign up, or maybe you're just a Confluence or an AI enthusiast, welcome. We want to give you all the opportunity to understand what this will mean for your team and also for your users. So a quick introduction. My name is Shannon Meehan. I am doing all kinds of product marketing at K15T, mostly for the Scroll apps. And I am joined here by Laura. Laura, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm the product manager for Scroll Viewport. Lots of you might know me from some day-to-day, almost day-to-day interactions. So yeah, happy to see you here.
And though they won't actually be presenting anything, we do have some other Viewport team members here on the call, in the chat, and they do have some more deeper technical knowledge of this feature, more than the two of us at least. So hopefully between this group, we're able to get all of your questions answered. And yes, just for some housekeeping, for any questions, we do have a dedicated Q&A section at the end. We will keep this presentation portion quite brief if we can. But if you can't wait with your questions until then, that's also no problem. Please make use of the chat as you already have. And yeah, the benefit there is if someone who is from the team can answer that right away, we'll try to. If not, you have a chance at the end. And then the other thing, as always, we are recording this session. So if you need to revisit this topic or share it with a teammate, we will make the recording available this week. We'll send it out as an email if you've registered, and we will also put it on our YouTube channel so you can access it. So what are we going to get into today? So as I mentioned, I want to keep the presentation portion somewhat brief, let you get back to your days. But I do want to spend a bit of time getting into sort of the context around Scroll Viewport and where it is right now. We don't actually do these product-related webinars all that often, so it's a good time to sort of like take a brief look at everything that we've been focusing on in the past year or so, and of course why we chose to deliver this AI search feature. So we'll do a live demo of the AI search, also take into account some of our own learnings, pointing out also some of its limitations, and just for context, if you haven't seen it yet, this feature has actually been live in our own help center for the past 4 or 5 months, I would say. And we want to give you an honest look at what that's meant for us as well. And last but not least, we will share how you can actually get your hands on this feature yourselves and be able to test it before it's officially live. So if you don't know who we are, our company is called K15T. And Scroll Viewport is one of the many apps we create here at the company. And our mission is to help teams turn their knowledge into impact. So with our apps, we focus on helping teams take the information and the knowledge that they create in Confluence and in Jira and share it with those who need it most, and also in the format that will have the most impact. So whether that's offline documents like PDF or Word documents, whether that's across Jira instances, or in many of your cases, I would assume that's as an online help center or a knowledge base. And when it comes to Scroll Viewport, our primary goal is to help you deliver a great user help experience. So when your users feel informed, when they feel supported, when they feel empowered with the information that you're creating, it really leaves an impact. And we know that a help center is just a really great way to help your users actually just self-serve the help that they need so that they can be successful. And when it comes to the Scroll Viewport experience, we kind of center our attention around 3 key components. The first is that your help center is unique and tailored to your brand. Of course, you want to ensure that your online presence is cohesive so that you can establish trust with your users. That goes for your help center as well. The second is that it's accessible, easy to navigate. So I think we all know that your information and your documentation, it's only relevant if it can be found and it can be understood. We know that, you probably know that. And so we want to make sure that your help center is accessible to the widest audience possible. And lastly, we want your users to be able to surface answers and information quickly and accurately, because yeah, at the end of the day, your users want to be able to get an answer quickly and just move on with their day. So the better we can help you do that, the better their experience will be. So these are the three kind of areas of focus, I would say, that have been on our minds in the past year or so, and have definitely informed some of the decisions that we've made when it comes to improving the app. And I would like to officially hand over to Laura, who will tell you all about what we've been doing in these areas, and what's now available for Scroll Viewport, and of course, what's to come.
Yeah, thanks. So let's just maybe start with a quick recap of some of the product highlights from the past month, so this year. So the first one that we would like to introduce to you, and again, you might have been using it already, is design tokens. Design tokens, you might know, some of you, they're available in some other tools as well. The reason why we've shipped this is to really move you towards the goal of creating a unique and tailored site for your brand. Now, the design tokens are really a powerful tool to bring your company's own design system, which many of you have, to your viewport site, not just in an easy, but also in a consistent way. So design tokens, briefly summarized, basically store visual properties such as colors, typography, or spacing. These can then be used by components. So a component could be, for example, a button, right? So there might be a button in many places in your site. So when you store a property like blue for the design token and apply this to a button component, then all of your buttons across the site are blue. So you can see this scales really well. So to give you an example, you could, for example, use the theme headline token and say something like, which is in the next example, Roboto slap, and define the text scale as 1.5 and the headline scale. And this, what it will do is it will modify the headings across your site. So something like this, right? Not just for the article page, but for many other pages as well. Another example is, for example, if you use the design token primary color, you can use this, turn it into a purple. And then what you see in the right-hand side and the left-hand side, both of the sidebars, are then the highlights are purple instead of the standard gray, right? So it's a really powerful way to brand and customize your help center site. And what I will say, however, is because it uses custom CSS, it is an advanced feature. So it's really truly for those comfortable with web development. The next highlight is not exclusively for advanced users. The next one is really for everyone. As Shannon alluded to, we are continuously making sure that viewport sites are accessible. So this year, we've finally met the level AA requirements of the Web Content Accessibility Guideline, in short, WCAG. So in this video, for example, you've seen, you can go through the elements like the search and the sidebar, make them focusable. You can have screen readers point out landmarks, descriptive labels, and so on. So this really makes viewport sites truly inclusive, allowing really everyone to gather relevant information. And yep, and the next big update is obviously the AI search, which is the reason why you're here. And I will hand it over to Shannon for a quick intro before we go into the demo.
You. So like I said, the last area of focus for Viewport this year is helping users surface answers and find information more quickly and more accurately. And to us, it was just really clear that AI could be a really huge help in making that happen. But before we went into building anything, we first had to look at how do users actually make this happen? How do they make it work today? Which is, of course, your standard search. So standard search, an essential feature of any help center. Users have a specific question, they want quick answers, they're going to turn to that search bar. And this is where AI can come in to sort of act as your user's helper or guide, when they go to seek help. And while standard search is still going to play a key role in surfacing information. It does have its own downsides. So, it often requires users to sift through articles to find a precise answer. They have to make decisions about how to actually interpret those search results. And it's just generally more time consuming in terms of a navigation experience if they're just trying to find a really specific answer. And the idea is that with AI search, it's going to be able to interpret a more natural language of the user's inquiry, and hopefully be able to surface the relevant information a lot more quickly. And what I do want to note, and what we've talked about a lot in the team, is AI search is not really going to be seen as a replacement for your search functionality for that standard search that you already have. It should really be seen as a complementary feature of the search experience. Because by offering both in your help center, you can actually just cater to a diverse range of needs of your users, and just give them a much more adaptable search experience. And yeah, when we think about the different teams who care a lot about the information that's in their help centers, we've seen a lot of benefits that it can bring. So we've looked at this from a couple different angles, and of course, AI search is going to be great for the end users, but it's not just about enhancing the user experience. It can also bring some significant benefits to your team's day-to-day work, particularly for documentation and for support teams, which is something we've definitely seen ourselves. And that's the reason for that is that it's designed to actually integrate with your preferred analytics solution, which just offers new insights that can be used in these teams. So for documentation teams, you're going to get richer data insights coming out of that AI. So we've noticed that users, they try to or they tend to use more natural language to actually phrase a question instead of just isolated keywords. So for example, instead of change fonts, they'll say something like, how do I add custom fonts to my help center? And what's interesting is, these longer search queries, they can actually reveal deeper user sentiment, or it can reveal common issues that come up, gaps that you have in your information. And the idea is that these teams can actually use that information, refine their content strategy, based on how your users are actually interacting with the AI. In a similar vein, it can help you enhance your existing content, either by identifying gaps in the content. If you spot vague or incorrect AI responses, you can actually use that to refine the content, or you can also align your language. So based on how users are describing a challenge, you can incorporate those terms into the content, and align it with their language, hopefully leading to better search results. And the last is just continuous improvement. So if you regularly analyze your AI data, it can enhance your documentation, also your in-app help. Just try to keep your content relevant and effective. And on the other side of that coin are service and support teams. And yeah, similar to documentation teams, can help you identify gaps in the content, understand your user needs, from your help center. It can also help you hopefully get ahead of any emerging issues, so you can sort of resolve them with new content rather than seeing that ticket backlog grow. And yeah, and last but not least, the more your AI is able to provide answers, the more time you get back for your team, hopefully leading to some cost savings. So yeah, so with all that in mind, we're excited to actually show you how this works. So I'm going to hand over to Laura, who's going to do a demo of that, and yeah, and also tell you about what we've learned in our own help center over the past few months.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. So let's have a look at our own help center. Now, a lot of you might know this already. Our help center have looked through documentation yourself. So the AI search feature has actually been live here, I believe, for the last three or 4 months. We've shipped this pretty early on when it wasn't the way it looks or works now. But that has helped us gather a lot of learnings and a lot of insights into this. So let's maybe use some of these things to not just show you how it works and what you can expect from the feature, or what your users can expect from it, but also have a look at some of our learnings and insights. So let's use a phrase that was actually used by a user. So as Shannon pointed out, we have a way to track the analytics for this. So a very popular topic.
Laura, are you sharing?
Yes, sorry.
Yes, maybe I just can't see it.
Yes, there's another tab on top.
Yes, okay, got it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it happened to me as well.
Okay.
I mean, if it's not, if it can't be seen, yeah, okay, looks good in the chat, good. So yeah, so one of the popular topics is fonts. So let's just use this to ask, how can I change the font in my site, right? So this is an actual query from a user. Now, the search obviously is already present on this portal page. This is probably the same for your site as well. Now, you're probably familiar already with how the search works, in the sense that we get some first results from just scanning through the existing articles, right? So this is the standard search results here, but also then on top, and this is the new part, I get a prompt to ask AI, right? So as a user here, I have two choices. I have a choice between looking through the normal search results and clicking on them, or clicking all results to look at more pages, or I can just ask AI. Now, let's just quickly do that to see what it tells us. So we can see it comes up with an answer. It populates the answer. Now, you probably have no way to validate if this is accurate or not, but I can tell you as a product manager, it is. Now, the way this answer is spit out is actually helps us really quickly scan through the information. So you can see it's not too long. So it starts here and it really ends here. And it has given us an answer that uses a numbered list, bolded text, and then also the code itself is formatted, right? So this is really easy to read through in a kind of summarized way. Now, if we scroll down, we can see it also says there's some documentation sources that can provide broader context, and it cites 3 sources here, which are just regular articles. I can click on them and verify the information, look if there's more to it, and so on, right? So this is the basic functioning of the feature. I also have a way here to copy the answer. So I've copied it now to the clipboard, and a way to rate this. The rating is tracked by us or by you at the end of the day. So you could see not just what people ask for, but also how they rate the answer. Okay, this was one of the examples. Now, this is obviously brilliant and perfect, but we also want to share some of the things that don't work so well. A lot of you I have seen in the participant list are actually part of the first early access group users. So you might be familiar with some of the shortcomings. So let's just, for now, do something that also Shannon pointed out. So a lot of our users use just simple keywords. That's actually how you use standard search, right? You don't write a full question. You actually just put in 1 or 2 keywords. So let's just do something, very short. Let's just say figure, right? For whatever reason, maybe for your PDF exports, you want to have a list of figures. Figure could be diagram and so on. So that's the only thing we'll put in, right? You can see the standard search will just surface anything that contains figures, either in the title or in the content. But if we ask AI, AI says, I apologize, I don't have enough information to accurately answer this query, right? So here you can see it doesn't work that well. We'll get to that in a second as to what that means. Another example, also actual user query, is actually a German question. So our content in here is only English. We don't have any German documentation, but we have seen, as we have, I mean, it's not surprising, we have lots of German-speaking customers. Some actually try to phrase their questions in their native language, which is fine, right? So let's just ask in German, how much does Viewport cost, or how expensive is Viewport? So we'll say, wie teuer ist Scroll Viewport? Yeah. And then ask AI. Obviously, the standard search is not pulling up anything because the documentation is in English. And then here it will give us the answer in German. So again, there's no German content. And actually, if you look at the sources that it cites, these are English sources. I can tell you that this is perfect German. It's also an accurate answer. So this works quite well. It's not all perfect, but these are just 3 examples to give you an understanding of how it works and what the kind of quality is. Let's maybe summarize some of the learnings. So both pulling in some of the things that I've showed you, but also some more things that we can share with you. So in terms of our learning, so what does AI search do really, really well? First, it does answer multi-part questions much better than standard search. So multi-part question draws in several concepts at once, right? Whereas standard search can really just give you individual articles, AI search can pull in multiple data points from multiple articles into a summary, right? That's what it's really good at over standard search. The other thing is it's very flexible with the phrasing. So if your customers think or talk about a concept in a different way in their own terminology, then AI search could potentially pick that up. So if I'm asking for what are the pros of Viewport, it could pull up an article about talking about the advantages, right? It's just a synonym. So that's really good. And then it's also just showing relevant context. So in our own implementation, what we've made sure is that the AI really considers only the content that you have published to the site, not just random documentation of your competitors, for example, right? So that reduces hallucinations and just makes it more, stick more to what you have and provide in your help center. Now, the other side of the coin, what are the limitations? So from having used this in the past month, we have to say, as with AI technology in general, I mean, anyone who has used AI in their day-to-day, there are misunderstandings. In particular, in our case, what it often overlooks is the correct product context. Actually, some of the early testers that are joining here in the webinar have also pointed this out, that this is the case in their help center. So obviously, if I'm looking for installation guide for a specific product, I don't want to read the installation guide for another product. So that's one of the current limitations. Also misinformation. So accuracy is overall a problem with AI technology. It does decline when the query contains only keywords at the moment. So this is definitely an area where we want to improve, because we just know some people will ask with keywords and not with full sentences. And then the other thing is, even if it does deliver accurate information, sometimes missing important pieces of the puzzle are missing. So there are key data. There's key data that isn't there in the summary. And in some cases, the user cannot get the full picture of what their solution might look like. Now, I'm pointing out these limitations to also say that these are part of our roadmap and part of the improvements that we want to work on next. We've already started to tackle some of the things that were pointed out to us. What we want to do is we want to get better at optimizing the AI search for content that isn't English. So if you've seen in one of the examples that I've showed you, it's working quite well. But sometimes if you mix in some English words in a German sentence, it is giving mixed results. And then also the apology, for example, is always in English, right? So there are some things we can do there. And then also limiting answers to specific content sources only. So if I'm in the Viewport documentation and I'm asking there, I only want to receive answers that are scoped to that documentation. And then the last thing is to sharpen the awareness and refuse answers when the criteria is not met. And this is really to avoid inaccurate answers. That's definitely the one thing that none of us wants. So that's our roadmap. But then also, and this is the interesting part for you, what's ahead? So Shannon already pointed out, we will soon release this feature in October for everyone, but you can already have access to it. In fact, some of you already have. So what you have to do if you want to use this is just reach out to us to express interest. You can use the email address here, help@k15t.com. share your Confluence base URL with us. So that is something.atlassian.net/wiki. With that information, we can enable the feature for you. And then please share your feedback with us, because that's really the only way we can learn from also your experience. Yep. So we will go over to the QA, which you probably waited for. But now, just to anticipate some of the questions that might come up, I know there have been some things in the chat already, but I just want to point out some key points. So first, AI search is scoped to your site, so it's not just taking in everything from the internet. That's important to know. The AI search is optional, so you can activate it and deactivate it at any point separately for your sites. And then also your users can choose to use it or not, right? They're not forced to go through AI search. If they don't want to, they can just use the normal search. Then the pricing. So in this early access, there were no charges, but at the latest, once we release the feature for everyone, you will be charged by OpenAI, which is the service we use, per API request. Now, the cost really truly vary, especially depending on how much traffic you get and how many people actually ask and use this. I'm just giving a really broad estimate. We've been powering five pretty big sites for a month, and we were using still an older model that was much more expensive than the model we use now. And I think the costs were around $10. So that's quite a lot, right? For 5 different sites. So your cost might be significantly lower, but just to give you an understanding of where you might be. And then also, maybe in quotes, AI search is privacy friendly in the sense that no personal identifiable information is passed on to OpenAI. This is actually working with your account. Only the site's content is passed. Some of your site's content is already public in that sense. And also the data is not used for any training purposes. So that's also really important to understand. So with that in mind, I think we already have quite a lot of questions in the chat. I haven't had a look, but maybe.
We do. And Tibby's trying super hard to get to all of them.
Right.
But I think I'll even just work backwards from what I can see. So from Steve. Hi, Steve. How can our site content be optimized to improve search results? This is a really interesting one also from my role perspective.
Yeah. So I think the answer here is probably just in general search. So the answer does not really differ to what I would answer if you were asking just about standard search. So I would say it's really important when you introduce concepts, right? I know a lot of you are technical writers. If there is a concept that you work with, ideally you have a page that explains that concept, right? That has a definition there, and then you can talk about it in an FAQ article, right? Then also actually using consistent terminology, that also helps. But also at the same time, you might be introducing synonyms to help with understanding. But if a keyword isn't there present in a specific page, it's less likely for the AI search to actually be able to pick it up. So I would say make sure your keywords in the literal sense, like the words that really are critical, are present throughout your documentation, are used consistently, and that you really explain and define things, right? I think with AI search, so with normal users, you might assume that they know already some things, right? But AI search in that sense doesn't know. So over-explaining sometimes helps, but of course you need to strike the balance, because your users might be overwhelmed if an article is double the length all of a sudden. But I think these are the considerations that we've also made with this. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
I mean, I've also been doing a lot of research into this topic in general, like how can any kind of team, improve their content for AI. So I would love to at some point put together kind of like a guide that we can give our users as well, just, considering things like metadata and all of that other stuff, making sure your content is really optimized. So we have a couple that I think we can answer quite quickly. Jürgen, I hope that Laura was able to answer your question about costs. If not, let us know. Then somebody asked about the underlying technology for the AI search, which is, I believe, also answered with OpenAI.
Yeah, OpenAI, we use, so right now we use a specific model. We want to offer you a choice between different large language models that OpenAI offers. Yeah, that's also part of our long-term roadmap. And then, yeah, I don't know if you were looking for more details there or if that's it. Yeah.
I don't know if this is potentially connected, but Stefan asked, where does the model run? Is it on premise? Does it need GPU power or is it in the cloud?
It's in the cloud. So it's actually, so TB, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically you set up a developer account. That way you get access to OpenAI's API, and you basically plug into the large language model through that API. Yeah, I don't know if that was answering your question.
If not, definitely keep using that chat. I'm looking through everything. So we had two people actually ask about whether this will be on premise or whether this will just be for the cloud for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, for now, only for cloud. We don't have plans at the moment to bring this to data center. But yeah, it's not excluded, but at the moment, it's a cloud first feature.
Then we also had some questions that I think both actually relate to analytics and some of the information that we get, some from our side, or in your case, from your side. What happens with the like/dislikes? And then, where are we going to be able to see those analytics that we talked about earlier?
Yeah. So the analytics, it's actually, so some of you who already use the analytics feature in Viewport, you have a choice between different providers. It's kind of the similar way. So we plug into that the analytics tool that you use. So basically how it works is you basically embed, and we have a documentation on this, you embed a JavaScript code into your site so that it listens for certain additional events. These events are the actual query that is made, and then also the up or down vote from the user. These are the events that you can listen for. And then what it looks like if you use, for example, we use Matomo, you might be using Google Analytics, it will appear in your dashboard. The way it appears differs per tool. And it's basically just a list of the queries that users have made. You can filter, depending on the capabilities of your analytics tool, filter by date, and then also see the rating. I will say the rating is kind of an advanced feature that you will have to implement with some further things. But we've all documented it. So yeah, basic short answer is you just use your normal analytics tool that you use.
Then a couple from Navira. I've actually just gone ahead and dropped those instructions. If you do want to, if you're interested in testing this, please follow those instructions. Essentially, just reach out to us at help@k15t.com and we'll get you sorted. And then Navira also asking about whether it requires any sort of extra plugin or app from the marketplace. No, only Scroll Viewport. So you obviously have to have Scroll Viewport enabled. Where can I find the documentation for the AI
Yes.
search?
I will send it here because we haven't officially published it yet, but the link is there. So I will send it here in the chat, and then you will also find the information about, so there we are. So the documentation will be made live once we release, but here are some FAQs for now. And then the analytics, I will also send that in the chat.
I will also make sure that all of this ends up in the follow-up email, not only with the recording, but not that you guys have to sort of copy paste everything from the chat. I'll coordinate with Laura and make sure that all these links are there and available. Then that's a great question, Steve. Can AI search include images, for example, inline icons in its responses?
No, not at the moment. Or if it does, then I don't know about it. Maybe TV, you want to confirm, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I haven't seen an example of that.
Okay. Tibby, you did a great job. Thank you for capturing as many as you could. If anybody else has additional questions, or if either myself or Tibby miss your question, go ahead and add it in again. Oh, there's a great question here about multilingual sites. So how does AI search work with them? Does it only use the English content?
That's a really good question. And actually, we don't know. We haven't, so we've had a lot of testers that had non-English content, but as far as I know, we had no site participating in the tests that had multiple languages. So if you do have a site like that, then please do reach out. We would love to know. Because the thing with this is normal features, you can always test them out, but it's really hard for us to test it out if we don't have real multilingual content, right? Because that's the true test. So yeah, we would love to see your site amongst the testers.
A great question. Okay. Any other questions from the group? And I mean, it goes without saying, but we are here at any point to answer questions along the way. You might even be able to just talk with Laura straight through our support team. And yeah, we want to hear all that feedback, of course. With a new feature, we really want to hear how it's going. Any privacy declaration?
That's a really good question. We haven't touched on that. So we are currently working on this ourselves. So with the general availability of this feature, as I said, you will be using your own OpenAI account. So that means it's a really good idea to include, especially for people based in the EU, to include OpenAI in your list of sub-processors. So you should definitely do that, because at the end of the day, it's not any sensitive data that goes there. It's just the queries basically. And the rest is processing your own help center content. But it's a good idea to point it out in your sub-processor list. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And as TB said, I think I mentioned this as well, there's no personal identifiable information that AI search stores, processes, uses in any way.
Okay. Oh, yep, another one. Okay. It would be great if there were an AI feature powered by an on-premise AI like Llama in the future because of German laws.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So we are really looking forward to experiment beyond what we have experimented with. So I think we can definitely check out other solutions. Yeah, so I think we'll just take note of that.
Good. As said, if additional questions or thoughts come up, please definitely. Oh, okay. They're still coming in. Great. When you say this is only available for Scroll Viewport, do you mean it is only available in the Viewport site that gets generated? Or would it also be available in the Confluence cloud space as long as we have Scroll Viewport installed in our cloud instance? I'm not sure that is a clear question. I think I know what you mean, though, and I think Laura does as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so as you might know, the Viewport site, the search on the Viewport site is completely independent from your Confluence search. So this feature is exclusively for the search on your Viewport site and has nothing to do with the search in your Confluence. Confluence is, as many of you might know, also working on AI tools. There are a few, but I'm not sure if they do come with standard plans at the moment. But yeah,
I believe it's only premium.
yeah, you might want to check out. It's called Atlassian Intelligence. So just check it out, see if there might be something similar in Confluence. Yeah.
And then maybe also Rovo in the future. I know that's the next big thing for
Sure.
Atlassian.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll stop there for the day. And yeah, as we said, reach out to us. Those instructions will be sent out via email about how you can reach out to us and get this activated on your site even before it reaches general availability. And then, of course, ask additional questions that we can help clarify. And yeah, want to say this is, this is the first iteration of this feature. We are going to be putting more time and resources into making sure that this works really well for you all. So I want to say thank you so much for your interest and for your time. We are K15T, and of course, Scroll Viewport isn't all that we do. So if you want to check out the rest of the Scroll apps, I will also drop a link just to our website so you can take a peek at those. And yeah, we hope to hear from you. We hope that this is really helpful for you all, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.